Hello, and thank you for listening to this episode of the Moore's October Rants. Today's episode is going to be titled, People Just Need to Do What They Feel is Right. Life is filled with choices, and everyone has their own path to follow. Sometimes the decisions people make seem perfectly right to them, even when others strongly disagree. This happens all the time, whether it's personal, moral, or societal choices. What one person sees as the best course of action, another might see as a mistake. But at the end of the day, people will do what they believe is right for themselves. Consider the example of a Christian content creator. Their faith influences their values, shaping the way they think and what they believe to be acceptable. Yet, they might find themselves making content that contradicts those beliefs. Perhaps they justify it by saying their circumstances require it, or maybe they rationalize their actions in a way that allows them to feel less conflicted. It's a difficult position, one where personal convictions clash with practical needs or desires. Sex workers often find themselves in similar situations. Many religions, Christianity included, discourage or outright condemn sex work. Yet, some sex workers still hold on to their faith, believing that God is with them despite societal judgment. They might say that God understands their choices, supports them, and still loves them unconditionally. The internal conflict between religious teachings and personal decisions is something many people experience, and how they navigate it is deeply personal. But at the core of all this is one truth. People will ultimately do what they feel is right, regardless of others' opinions. It doesn't matter how much advice they receive or how many warnings they hear. If someone is set on a decision, they will follow through. This is the case with countless aspects of life. Whether it's smoking, drinking, gambling, or any other personal choice, people determine their own path. For example, someone who buys cigarettes knows the risks. They know about health warnings, about addiction, about the potential long-term consequences. But if they decide that smoking is right for them, whether for stress relief, personal enjoyment, or any other reason, they will do it. The same applies to alcohol. If someone chooses to drink despite the dangers of addiction or reckless behavior, they make that choice knowing the possible outcomes. The same principle applies to gambling, pornography, or purchasing scratch tickets. Each decision carries its own weight, its own set of consequences. But in the end, every adult has the freedom to choose how they want to live their life. They can receive guidance, hear opinions, and weigh advice, but no one can force them to live a certain way. They must decide for themselves. Of course, not every decision leads to positive outcomes. Some choices bring pain, regret, or hardship. When things don't work out, people are often left facing the reality that they must take responsibility for their actions. If a person gambles recklessly and ends up in financial trouble, they have no one to blame but themselves. If someone drinks excessively and faces consequences for their behavior, they must accept that it was their choice. This is the reality of personal freedom, the understanding that decisions have consequences. The weight of responsibility is something everyone carries. People might find ways to justify their actions, to frame them in a way that makes them feel more acceptable. A gambler might convince themselves that they'll win eventually. A smoker might downplay the health risks. A sex worker might reconcile their profession with their faith by believing that God supports them anyway. Rationalization is a natural response. It helps people ease their own internal conflicts. But no matter how choices are framed, they still belong to the person making them. Society will always have opinions, religious teachings will always set moral guidelines, and family and friends will always offer advice. But in the end, a person must decide what is right for themselves. They must be ready to face whatever comes from their decisions, whether good or bad. Life is unpredictable, and choices shape the course of one's journey. Some people will regret their decisions, while others will stand by them no matter what. Some will justify their actions, while others will acknowledge their mistakes and learn from them. But the truth remains the same. People will do what they feel is right, regardless of external influences. There is power in personal autonomy. The ability to choose, to determine one's own path, is a fundamental part of life. Whether those choices lead to success or failure, fulfillment or regret, they belong to the individual. People may face criticism, backlash, or even internal struggles, but that is the reality of living in a world filled with differing opinions and beliefs. At times, people may try to convince others to see things their way. They might argue that their choices are justified, that they are doing what is necessary or even what is best. Sometimes they genuinely believe this, other times it's simply a way to reconcile conflicting emotions. But regardless of how choices are explained or justified, they remain personal. The world will always present people with different perspectives, different warnings, and different expectations. But no matter how many voices weigh in, the ultimate decision belongs to the individual. Some will thrive, some will struggle, some will learn, and some will repeat the same mistakes. But every person is responsible for their own path. Pain often follows poor decisions, and regret can be difficult to carry. But mistakes are part of life. Some people learn from them, growing stronger and wiser. Others may continue down the same road, hoping things will change despite evidence to the contrary. That is the nature of human choices. They are shaped by personal beliefs, emotions, and circumstances. In the end, life is a journey of choices. Some will be celebrated, others will be questioned, and some will lead to unexpected consequences. But personal autonomy remains one of the most powerful aspects of human existence, and with it comes the responsibility of owning one's actions. Whether those actions lead to fulfillment, pain, or something in between, they are part of the experience of navigating life. Anyways, thank you for listening to this episode of the Moors October Rants. Signing out. Have a good one, guys. Goodbye for now.